Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, as you read the title, I am doing my January setup, and this one actually is kind of like another redo because if you are new to my channel, last January I did an Arctic Animals theme, which was actually the first video on my channel that has now surpassed 2,000 views, so that was actually pretty exciting for me at the time. But it was a redo of my very first year doing a January setup when I tried to do Arctic Animals again. So I repeated myself way too much. I was editing this and realized that I basically said the short version of the story in my intro and then went into more detail in my voiceover, but basically repeated myself back to back, and I couldn't figure out a way to edit it out to make sense in my intro, so yeah. But I thought I'd do it a third time. Since I did like it so much, I might as well just do it again, but like slightly different. So I'll explain more when we get into the video, but yeah, that is today's plan. Now I am going to be getting closer back on track with these videos. October is gonna have to be like a in between my other stuff, because January is just a setup month, but I'm making this intro way too long. I gotta get right into the video. So without further ado, let's start the January setup.
Alright, so for this year's January setup, I'm sure you might recognize this if you've been a viewer for a while, but I decided to do Arctic Animals again for the third time in a row. So, little backstory to this. So, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for January, like mid-December, and the only thing I could think of in January is just like the wintry wonderland, because every January, for as long as I really can remember, it has been insanely snowy and insanely cold. I live in Canada. It's literally like minus... What right now it says on my computer that is minus 32, and it's still snowing. It's been snowing nonstop for the past 3 days, but I digress. But I thought, well, why would I do it a third time? Like, I really should think of something else. But then, as I was seeing the other bullet journal YouTubers uploading for this month, everyone seems to be doing Arctic Animals, and I'm like, what in the actual frig is Arctic Animals like trending now or something? Like, I don't get it. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. There was plenty of cute penguin and polar bear drawings that I didn't get a chance to do last year. So I thought I can do it again. Just make sure that there's a different twist this time. So kind of 2 twists I added this time. Last January's was mostly like mountains and penguins. The only polar bear that was really in it was just the cover page. So this time I decided to do this cute little penguin and have the rest of the bullet journal actually have multiple different Arctic animals. By the time I'm recording this, actually, I finished sketching out the rest of my weekly spreads for the month. And see, I'm actually trying to get back on top of things. But anyway, and I did a mix of penguins, polar bears, and baby seals. So for this, I wanted to try to do a baby seal that looked kind of like a stuffed animal. I don't know if I fully achieved that, but that was the goal. And the overall arching theme is not just Arctic Animals, it's sleepy Arctic Animals, because this January I am really just wanting to stay in hibernation mode. And I thought it'd just be cute to make this whole month's theme based on getting my sleep back in order and getting my health back in order. So I haven't been like particularly super unhealthy, I would say, except for obviously like recovering from my cold from the past week, which is again not COVID. I was tested negative, so it was just a regular cold. But I was really finding that I was losing a lot more sleep than I should be, and my sleep patterns were becoming irregular, and I mean, my acne was not having a good time because of it. Like, I am very sensitive. I hate how sensitive my body is sometimes, but my main focus for the new year is getting my body back in check, like how it was late 2019, just before the pandemic. Like, I was running 5 miles 3 to 4 days a week. I was eating very healthy food, very little sugar, and like I've gained that little bit of 5 pounds chubbiness from all the Christmas sweets. So it's really just focusing on my physical health, and hopefully my mental health will benefit from that too, because I find like the more I'm at the gym, my mental health just like follows suit without really even trying. So it's a nice little bonus to, you know, the gym. And also I wanted to make sure that this January is watercolor, obviously, because we're close to the ending of this drawing already. But the watercolor is the theme for the rest of this as well. Because last year I didn't do any watercolor themes, and I thought, you know what? It's been a long time, might as well bring it back for a simple Arctic one. Although I will admit that I don't know if it was this paper or my paints, if they're too old or something, but for some reason, the watercolors were having a hard time blending nicely. Like on camera here, it looks it's blended a bit better than it actually did in person, which I was kind of shocked by. But then I thought maybe it's just Notebook Therapy's paper, because the last time I did a watercolor theme for my August Sea Life Animals theme like 2 years ago, the paper was from Archer and Olive, right? So I'm thinking maybe it's just the paper. Maybe eventually I'll try an Archer and Olive book again with watercolor, but I mean, I'm still pretty happy with how this looks. I was just surprised at the difficulty to blend. It felt like I was using regular paints compared to actual watercolor, you know? That's about all I have to say for this, which is great because now we are moving on to the schedule page. So for this, I kind of did a revamped version of the schedule page from my very first attempt at Arctic animal theme. I literally picked the exact same seal, sleeping seal, and the exact same polar bear. But they were exponentially easier to draw this time. My goodness, I got them done like in 20 minutes. I was quite shocked at myself. I had this idea for this sky, but after I finished it, I was like, ooh, I actually kind of hate it. So once I was finished adding the dimensions of the snow and lighting my candle, because I was dumb and completely forgot to do that, I decided to go back into the sky and just completely cover it in blue. Although, me saying that, I seem to be jumping the gun a little bit because my snow and trees seem to be taking a little bit longer. But regardless, I did end up changing my mind on the sky, and I did want to add more color to this spread compared to last year's schedule page. I really like how it looked last year with being like just black and white and blue, but I thought adding color, since I was playing with the paints, would be a better option. And I did want to make this more of a night sky anyway, so I wasn't 100% upset at how this turned out. The only thing that made me kind of sad was the fact that it was hard to do the kind of textures that I was wanting to do because the stupid colors just weren't blending. I probably mentioned this like 4 times by now, but it just was really bothering me at this point. But I don't know. Do you guys still think it looks okay? Maybe I'm overthinking it, I don't know. But for the mountains, I decided to do basically the same kind of design as I did from last year's. It looked a lot better last year, I think, but then again, I also might be overthinking. So overall, I'm still happy with this cover page, but I seem to be ranting more than anything, so I'll just shut my trap. The rest of this change, though, I will say before I be quiet, I didn't do like bubble calendar boxes this time. I found that when I look back at my 2019 one, it kind of filled up too much of the page, especially with January having 31 days. Like, it's one of the largest months of the year, right? So it was like, it's just better to do the square box, especially with how much drawing I want to do around it this time. After I finished the more thicker snowflakes, though, I tried to do like the Brussels spray thing, but for some reason it just was not working. All the paint just stayed on my fingers, so I gave up and just used the white ink pen to do like the littler snowflakes instead. I still think it looked good, but I would have been happier if it could do that like spritz thing, but I think maybe it's just because it's watercolor. Because when I used to do that with other project, it was like regular paint, not watercolors. But I didn't have the patience to dig through my basement because we still have it unpacked from our flood a few months ago down there. So I have no idea where the rest of my other paints are. So I was just like, yeah, it's fine. White colored marker is totally fine for now. So, moving on to our to-do list page. Very basic, arguably more basic than last year's. I just used the same Kaisercraft scrapbook paper and did my headers on those. I should have made them a little bit longer to fill up the entire top of the page, but I was also not wanting to completely destroy a full 12 by 12 sheet to have this specific pattern paper. So I thought, okay, ripping the edges and just like extending the snowflakes, like the drawn snowflakes a little bit would help it. I think it did, but looking back at it now, I probably should have added a little bit more dimension with coloring. I mean, it's a to-do list page, so I usually try to keep it as basic as I can. Alright, so the next page is my sleep and productivity page. I'm replacing the mood tracker for this month. I might bring it back for February, I haven't really decided yet, but since I really do want to focus on sleep and just getting myself back on track with everything, I wanted to try this tracker out. I saw it from Journal Away's January setup, and when I first drew it out, I was a little bit confused on how to like actually fill it out, so I was trying to think of some other options from Pinterest, but this one was the best one I could find, and now starting to fill it out, it's working a bit better for me. So far, I'm seeing a pattern. The nights where I am not on my phone super late are the ones I'm getting better sleep, so I'm gonna try to cut back on my screen time. Maybe I'll end up doing another social media detox soon. So for this little drawing, I found it on the artist that I did all the penguins from last year's. I love this penguin design. She is so freaking cute, and the original artist actually colors in her penguins with watercolor, so it was pretty cool to actually be able to fully replicate it instead of like replicating the drawing but not like replicating the coloring. And I found that my watercolors seemed to blend easier when it was such a tiny area. So I don't know what's up with that, but once I started doing the small penguins, it was much more fun for me to do my painting. And he's just so cute and snuggly. I will ask you guys, what are some of your New Year's, wow, I can't talk. What are some of your New Year's resolutions? That feels like it's like a tongue twister. I don't know why I had so much trouble saying that. But yeah, what are some of the things that you want to improve on this year? January is always my favorite time to reset. Like you're done having to deal with all the holidays, and it's just feels like a perfect resetting time. Kind of like spring cleaning kind of feel, you know? On to the weekly spread. So I went incredibly simple with this, kind of took some inspo from my first weekly spread of last January's as well. I love the extra open spacing without having to do the boxes. I really like that look, so I think I'm going to bring back more of these later on in this year because I really didn't do it that often, but I find it's a lot easier for me to like write out all my to-do lists, especially since this week was a lot. I had so much to do this week, and it was mostly due to this organization makeover I've been working on since June. It's a hefty job, but today I actually finished all of the painting in the room that I needed to do. So after doing this setup and that frickin' room, I am done painting for a while. I am painted out. I will have to admit that even though this is the smallest drawing in my entire setup, at least, not my entire setup because I've done my weekly spreads already, but in my entire video, in the entirety of this video, this one's my favorite. That was a long-winded way to just say that this is my favorite photo in the video. But for the polar bears, I loved the drawing. However, I felt like I drew the penguins a little bit weird. I tried my best. I find when I have to do more detailed, well, I mean, they're not really super detailed, but like the smaller the drawing, the harder I have with it. Even my mechanical pencils don't seem to be quite like fine-tipped enough, so I think maybe I just need like a special pencil to be able to do smaller stuff. But it was a bit hard for me to draw their beaks specifically. I think my favorite penguin though is probably the one with the purple hat. I feel like he looks the best out of the rest of them. I think the rest of them look kind of derpy, but I don't know, maybe I'm just being too hard on myself again. I love how the polar bear turned out though. He's just so freaking cute. I will admit though, I definitely made these stripes on the polar bear's hat way too thick. That was my bad. I should have made them like half that size. Alright, so there we are. My last spread is complete, and January setup is completely done. Alright, so that is my third take on the Arctic Animals theme. I am definitely done with this theme, I promise. I will not be doing this a fourth time. But I like the different take on it. It was nice and refreshing to see watercolor again, even though it kind of makes my book's pages bend a little bit, but that's okay. Alright, I accidentally forgot to record my outro when I was actually properly dressed and everything, and I don't have time to do it now, so I apologize. But I thank you guys so much for watching, and also let me know which of the 3 themes you enjoyed the most. I'll leave the links to the previous 2 years if you hadn't had a chance to watch them. But yeah, let me know. I'm very curious about which rendition you guys prefer. I think I enjoy this year's more because there was more drawings of different animals and I didn't feel stressed out with it. I think the cover page I prefer last year just because I really thought the penguin with the polar bear outfit sleeping with a polar bear was hella cute, but I didn't think it'd be good to redo that drawing, right? So I thought this sleeping penguin was a good replacement. But yeah, let me know what you think, and I will see you guys for February's setup. I've already got plans for it. Bye.